This weekend at the wood shop, we're going to go from this less than desirable table saw fence to this. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Weekend Wood Shop. My name's Rick, and this weekend in the wood shop, we're going to take this this less than desirable table saw fence. Many of you, if you caught my shop tour, the very first episode here on the channel, we talked about this table saw that I got from my father as a gift. And the saw has been around in my family for many years. And one thing that both my father and I never fully appreciated, never fully liked, was this table saw fence. It's very durable, it's very rugged. I mean, this saw is 30 plus years old, and it's still perfectly straight. It works perfectly fine, but the problem is that the way that the table was configured, you could only get about 11 to 11.5 inch cut out of it. And even that was a little sketchy because of the size of the table saw and the way that the fence fastened itself to the saw's tabletop. What I want to do today is I want to take this table saw fence and upgrade it to something a little bit more usable. And what we're going to update it to is this. If you go to ibuildit.ca, John Heisz has developed an all-wood table saw fence system that is actually pretty easy to build. And given that, and given the design of the tabletop, the workbench that we have, the way that this system is set up, it will work perfectly in opposition to this old thing. So today, this is what we're going to build. So let's see how we do. Okay, so it is the next day. Some progress has been made. We have the mounting rail that will attach the fence to the tabletop. We also have a piece that we have made that's going to make up the front edge of this. This has been glued and drying overnight, so we should be able to take the clamps off now and take a look at how it turned out. It's just two pieces of 1/2 inch by 50 inch plywood that is, 3 inches wide, I think. Oh, that looks beautiful. So basically what this will do then is this gets mounted here as such, and this creates the whole front for what the T fence is going to ride on. And then this will get mounted. Let me move something out of the way here. This will get mounted to the front of the table, something like this. Now I can't decide if I want to take this all the way out to the end and utilize all of this fence, or if I'd like to stay more along like this, so that I can so that I get a much better grip when the fence is closer to the saw blade. I think this is where we're going to end up, is something along this lines. We'll still have a couple inches out towards the end of the table that we won't be able to rip decent cuts. But again, this is 50 inches long, and so we'll get roughly a 40-inch cut out of this, whereas like I mentioned in the intro there, the old fence would have only given us about 11. So much wider cuts with this. The only thing we've got to do now is, like I said, I've got to mount this piece to the front and get it squared away. What's cool about this is that this is how you square the T-fence to the table. These holes that we've drilled in here, they're larger so that you get some wiggle room, some adjustment room out of it. So we'll get this mounted on here today. We'll also cut out the pieces for the T-fence and get the T-fence assembled. And hopefully by the end of this weekend, by the way, this is Memorial Day weekend as we're filming this, by the end of this weekend, we'll have a functioning fence system for our table saw. so more progress has been made. What we're looking at right now is this, the fence rail, the support rail has been installed onto the table. I used my little my little brad nailer to just kind of get it in the rough position that I wanted, and then used 1.5 inch screws to mount it to the table. And then this is where the fence will actually ride. So today what I need to do is I need to work on the handle a little bit. But as you can see, we're doing pretty good. I ran into a little problem with my brad nailer. The little nose pads, the little anti-blemish nose pads that go on the end of it. Apparently, it's been a while since I've used my brad nailer, and it was a little bit dry rotted, and it kind of came apart on me. But that's easy enough to fix. Easy peasy, rice and cheesy. So as we mentioned in a previous clip, we got these two little tabs that go around the handle. Those go right here. But as you can see, someone may have made a little error right there. It's about 1/4 inch off. That's because someone looked at the wrong dimension. I won't say who it was. Somebody looked at the wrong dimension on the print, on the plan, and mounted this block 1/4 inch too far back. Needs to be 1/4 inch that way. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm actually going to have to trim this board, because there is no way that this is coming apart. I could rebuild it. Don't really want to rebuild it. And 1/4 inch coming off of this isn't going to change the functionality at all. What I do have, find it here real quick. What I do have is a measuring, self-adhesive measuring tape that will go right here, right? And there is plenty of room. There's at least 1/2 inch between where the tape measure would end and where this would go, or between where the tape measure would be and the edge of this space. So I can trim this back a little bit and make that fit. The reason why that's important is because once this block is in here, and then we have our handle, the handle will be in the middle. There's a piece of aluminum that will ride right in here, and as you push that handle down, it will grip a hold of this fence rail. That's what locks the fence in place. So it has to be fairly precise as far as how the mechanism works. So I'll get that ripped down and make that adjustment. We'll get the top on this thing. We'll get the handle built. Hopefully, again, don't have a bandsaw, but should be able to do it with a jigsaw. Anyway, that's enough rambling. I'm gonna get back to work. So the table saw plans call for a pointer to be mounted along this front edge right here of the slide for the fence. It calls for it to be a hardwood pointer with a couple of adjustment slots, a couple of elongated slits, if you will, that you can slide back and forth to adjust it to a tape measure. This tape measure that's going to be mounted to the face of this rail here. So we'll get that put on next, but I don't want to do this wooden pointer. What I'd actually like to use is I'd actually like to use this. I'd actually like to use some Lexan and make a strip of Lexan that I can form in an L shape to go right here, put a couple of mounting holes in it, put a red line on it so that it rides right across the top of the tape measure, and we get a much more accurate measurement. So here's hoping that I can get that accomplished. And it's done. And by done, I mean mostly done. There's a few other things that I'd like to do to this. I want to sand this down really well, put a coat of clear poly on it so that it can withstand bumps and scratches and stuff like that. But I couldn't be any more pleased than I am right now. This thing works amazingly. You saw from the test cut that we just did that it measures out nice and even. And the only change that I made one change from the drawings, and the drawings call for, like I said earlier in the video, the drawings call for a piece of hardwood to act as the pointer down here. I wanted something a little bit more precise, and I'll probably change this out again because the only thing that I had was a regular point Sharpie. I want something a lot finer still, so I'm going to see if I can find a fine point Sharpie and make this again. But with the red line there on the clear Lexan, you can tell exactly where it's pointed out on the tape measure. And it's pretty solid, right? You get it locked in place. There's not a lot of deflection to it. Honestly, I couldn't be more proud of it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to thank John Hayes for the plans that he put together. These are great plans. If you're looking to do something like this for the table saw that you have, it can be implemented on just about any setup that you have. So I would strongly recommend, if you're looking for a fairly easy project. This didn't take me very long to do. It took me a couple of weekends. But that was because I had other things that I was working on at the same time, other things around the house and stuff. So, and you know, waiting for glue to cure and dry and stuff like that. But honestly, I couldn't be pleased more. Great plans. Go to ibuildit.ca. The plans are there, and they're awesome. So, but again, this is the first project from the weekend workshop. More to come. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to catch up with new stuff that we're going to be doing on the channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications so that you can get notified every time we put new content on the channel. But again, thank you so much for hanging out with me over the weekend. I do appreciate it very much. If you truly love what you're doing, then it can always be weekend in the workshop. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.